she hears my footsteps and she calls to me from inside the box. So really, we're like friends. It's just magical. It's fantastic.
Yo quiero, pues, agradecerte por el espacio. Vamos a hablar sobre un tema muy importante de su carrera, sus libros, todo. Pero quisiera hablarte sobre un tema en especial que muchas personas que comprenden mucho el amor por los animales. Quiero hablar sobre la sociomiótica. Esto desde el campo audiovisual. Quisiera preguntarte cómo uno como guionista o como cineasta puede realizar una historia verídica que pueda expresar el lenguaje de los animales a través de la sociomiótica.
Okay, welcome to the channel. It's an honor to have you here. And Jhon got a really great question because it's about, I hope this is the correct translation and pronunciation. So semiotics, su semiotics. In Spanish will be la semiótica. And the question is, knowing all your students, your books, how will be the perfect way for a filmmaker to be truthful with this subject, a very complicated subject, and be you an authority on that subject in particular?
Well, let me try to answer. This may be the start of a whole conversation, not just one answer. But I think for centuries, actually, we have heard the story that well, first of all, we've heard the story that humans are not animals, and that other animals cannot think or they cannot feel anything. And that is just really a story that we've been told that we grew up with. And I think the honest approach is to watch them objectively, see what they do, see how their behaviors make sense, and to consider evolution, which is the organizing principle of all of biology, to look at brains and the similarities of all of our nervous systems. And those three things, looking for the logic of their behaviors, considering that we are all related organically in evolution, and understanding something about the neurology, the nervous system, how it is built, and also the chemicals that create moods and motivations that we share with so many other animals.
Hay también importante, es sobre un libro en especial de él que a mí me encantó, que se llama Beyond Words, que es sobre el tema de la caza furtiva, el tema que se implementa en el Parque Nacional de Amboseli de Kenia. Yo quiero preguntarte sobre qué es lo que más de pronto destaca que ha cambiado la naturaleza en el tema salvaje, en este libro, que tú digas qué tanto se ha transformado, si para bien, para mal, qué tanto han podido aprender las personas, los turistas.
Talking about Beyond Words, and of course the topic of hunting, there in Kenya, what do you think that, do you feel that society somehow has changed for a positive or negative way towards that subject, the hunting?
Well, in Kenya, hunting is really not allowed. All of the hunting of animals with guns is not legal. Most of it has to do with wildlife trafficking or some hunting for marketing locally. So Kenya, I think, is very has a very far-reaching understanding that the animals there are actually worth more to them if they are basically conserved for the tourists to bring money, to see the animals. That's not necessarily the best reason, but if you would ask the animals, they would probably prefer tourists to hunters.
Hay también otro libro que me parece súper interesante, pero es sobre el mar, que es algo súper inmenso, que es un tema difícil de abarcar. Pero quisiera preguntar sobre, hay algo que me pareció súper bueno y es el tema de cómo uno puede darle el respeto al mar, referente a lo que sucede. Hay sistemas de petroleras, hay sistemas de Horizons, como le dicen, como en la película, pero quisiera preguntarte qué nosotros podemos hacer para que el mar tenga respeto a nosotros, porque nosotros no tenemos respeto al mar.
¿En película te refieres a la de Mark Wahlberg?
Sí, y a otra también, las dos. Sí.
Dime la otra. Carl, I'm waiting because Jhon is mentioning some movies that deal with the subject, so I'm asking the favor to give me the name. So that's the
Artificial.
reason. Artificial. Okay, thank you. Sorry, Carl. It's because he's asking about one of your books that deals with another subject that is the sea. And you know, we have seen, our society has seen documentaries, movies about the issue with the petrol companies, with the oil companies. So yeah, similar to the previous question, you had seen changes on society because sea is a very delicate subject, and somehow I think that humanity, we showed you books like your books, we showed them documentaries, but I don't think that we had changed. But tell us your opinion.
Yes, well, the film Artificial is is about is about damming rivers and raising salmon in captivity in big salmon farms. And yeah, these are big changes that have happened in the human relationship to the sea. A lot of the sea is depleted by overfishing. Many areas of the ocean have very few fish now compared to what they had 100 years ago, or especially 1,000 years ago. And some people are trying to farm fish and shrimp and things like that. But the farms have their own problems, and they haven't really resulted in less pressure on the wild ocean, because in my lifetime, there are 3 times as many people now as when I was born. And so, even if you have more farms, you still have more pressure, more people who want food, and it just puts a lot of pressure on the land, on the sea, and on the animals. And not to mention the forests, the fresh water, all of these things, the coral reefs.
También hay otra referente que se llama Misión Blue. Es sobre el poder visualizar el tema de la historia de Sylvia Earle, la primera mujer en caminar 400 metros bajo el mar. Bueno, en esta parte quisiera preguntarte sobre qué es lo más destacado que puede influir referente en el tema oceánico, en el tema que tiene que ver con el mar, qué necesita de pronto pues la gente, poder conocer un poco de este proyecto, porque hay mucha gente que suele estar, y también mucha parte de este documental se basó también en sus libros, en su inspiración.
Sería más como la conexión que pueda tener la gente con el mar de la manera que la tuvo Silvia. No es porque no tiene nada que ver con la apnea y no tiene que ver con la atleta colombiana.
No.
Voy a decir, okay, I was asking some things to Jhon because yes, there is a documentary about, I think it's called Brood, and it's about Silvia, that woman that walked in the bottom of the sea. So knowing that it's based in your word, in your words, and in the areas that you study, what people can learn about this type of connection with the sea, this more like human connection, knowing about the life of Sylvia, the book. Tell us more.
Sure. Okay. Well, Sylvia is a friend of mine, so I know her, and she's really a wonderful person, really an incredible person. She's like the Jane Goodall of the ocean, and she has helped us to see and understand a little bit more about what it's like beneath the surface of the ocean. It's very hard to get down under the ocean because we can't breathe there, but we also can't see very well. So, it requires submarines and special equipment. Um, it's obviously an incredibly fascinating science, all of oceanography, physical oceanography, biological oceanography. But one of the things that probably Sylvia would say to you if she was here is we spend much more money and much more effort trying to see what's on the surface of other planets than here on Earth. And if we discovered on another planet some little tiny living thing, uh, it would make headlines around the world. But there's so much on this planet that is undiscovered and unseen and unknown. And really, it would be worth putting a lot more of the effort that is, going to thinking about sending some people to the moon again or to Mars in the future, to seeing where we are. What planet are we actually living on? We don't really know ourselves very well, and we certainly don't know most of the things that live here. And we really should care more about them and have a much greater sense of respect for all of the miraculous living things that are here.
Then a big hi to Sylvia. Uh, I hopefully she can be here, but if not, send a big hi, a big thank you. And I don't know if you know, I really love that question because in Colombia we got a world champion of apnea. But her name is Sofia. I don't know if you.
I don't think I know her.
Okay, Carl. Continue. My question is, how do you visualize the theme of communication from the book? Beyond words, whiteboards, and those time and feel a young writer.
Do you mean how did I first come up with the idea of the book?
Yes, your opinion, the theme of animal communication.
I think, well, in that book, communication is only part of the book, really. A lot of it is what else is going on in the minds of other animals. How, to what extent do they think? What emotions are different animals capable of? And communication is part of it. There's a tremendous amount of communication in the world. Insects communicate, amphibians communicate, fish communicate, birds, of course, and mammals. They're constantly calling to each other. They they try to attract mates. They announce their territory. They warn others to stay away and things like that. So there is really a lot of communication. And the more I got into just, what are some of the mental capacities of some other animals, it was obvious that communication is a very big topic there.
A curious question I had always wanted to ask will I be possible that animal abuse could be reduced is human could really communicate with animals?
A long time ago in the 1700s, there was a man named Jeremy Bentham, and he said, the question is not, can they think or can they talk? The question is, can they suffer? So really, if humans had the heart and the compassion, just understanding that animals can have a sense of well-being or a sense of misery and that they can suffer should have been enough all these centuries for us to treat them well. and care for them well and not abuse them. I think that if we could speak back and forth to them, I still don't think that that would solve the problem of abuse, because we can speak back and forth to many kinds of people, and still we abuse other people. You know, indigenous people are very abused, people of color are very abused, women are very abused. We know that they can think, we know that they can talk, we can talk to them, and still they are the subject of too much abuse from too many people.
How do you visualize the evolution of animal in general in 20 years?
20 years from now,
Yes.
most animals in general, their populations are really declining rapidly. In North America, where I live, we have lost 1/3 of our birds, about 1 billion birds, since the time I was a teenager. That's just birds. On the planet generally now, human beings and the animals that we raise, like cows and pigs and goats, make up 97% of all the mammals in the world. Only 3% of the mammals in the world are wild mammals. We have taken up so much of their living room. And my fear is that, of course, we just passed 8 billion people on Earth. My fear is that in the next 20 years, more and more people will mean fewer and fewer animals, a much harder time for them surviving, no place to live. So I think that we're in a really a very critical time, and we're making existence very hard for many of the other beings that share this planet with us.
What is the book of yours that has had the greatest impact on your life?
On my life,
Yes, in your life.
I would say my first book, because as I was writing that book, I wasn't sure I was capable of writing a book. And then when it was very well received, and many of my friends and colleagues said, you should write more. And so my whole career changed to being focused mainly on writing books. So I guess, you know, for me personally, that was certainly the biggest change in my life from any of my books. My first book changed my whole career, from being an ecological scientist and then a policy advocate to being a writer.
There is documentary that I found beautiful, as is Bluefin documentary. How was the experience of taking about bluefin tuna?
Well, those fish are absolutely incredible. And connection to that documentary film that you're talking about, as you saw, I guess, we went to a place where there were a lot of them at that time, a few years ago, and I got in the water where these 1,000-pound fish that can go, 50 kilometers an hour, very, very fast through the ocean. They were coming around because they were throwing fish overboard that they were eating. And to be swimming around with them was absolutely breathtaking experience, just incredible. And even as they came so fast, they would never touch you. They knew exactly, they were so precise in their movements, they knew exactly how to go around you.
Hay algo importante y siempre me la he querido hacer esta curiosidad. Hay muchos animales que de pronto en sus libros han mostrado que se han extinto y eso, pero ¿cuál sería un, de pronto una especie que quisieras de pronto que alguna vez muchas personas conociesen más? Porque yo sé que de todos los animales lo has escrito en su libro, entonces quería preguntarte eso. una especie que considere que el mundo sepa que va a conocer.
You had written, sorry, about a lot of the species, but do you feel that there is like an animal and a species that you feel that people need to know more about?
Well, I think people need to know more about thousands of species. I mean, certainly all of the ones that I've written about are very worth knowing about. But on the other hand, there are a lot of small and beautiful, wondrous, miraculous creatures. Colombia has more birds than any other country. There are hundreds and hundreds of bird species there, and many of them are very small. They're very subtle. A person who is a bird watcher would, feels like the landscape in the country is so much richer because they know what's moving and living through the country. Here, where I am outside of New York, at this time of the year, we're starting to have these migrant songbirds called warblers. Many of them are coming back from South America, Central America, Caribbean islands where they spent the winter, and they're just starting to appear here as our flowers are opening and the insects are coming back. There are dozens of species. They look like living jewels. They're so beautiful, but almost no one sees them, because to see them, you have to look for them. And usually you need a pair of binoculars to see them well. And I wish I could show them to everybody and say, look at this incredible world we live in, this incredible planet that we are on. What could be better than this place here with such beautiful living company? So yeah, a lot, maybe millions of species people should know better. I should know them better.
I will show you some species because I got in my hands one book from a friend of the channel, a big hi to Juan Carvajal. He did a book called Touches and Q. Touche is a bird from our city. This is from our small city. I will try to show you. And this is a book about a species that lives here in my city. And it's beautiful because in Colombia, there is a phrase that we don't know the treasures that we got. I mean, I live in a city called San Gil, and somehow in one part of the year, a lot of I don't know how we call it, bird seekers, photographers from all around the world,
Yeah.
got reunites in a place called Parque El Gallineral. I don't know if you heard about that place. It's a beautiful park that is like a reservation inside the city, and people start to take pictures. But I feel sad because in Cucuta, in the city we live with Jhon, we got a lot of the species, beautiful species, but we don't do that kind of things. And yeah, thank you for recognize that in Colombia. Yes, we got the most beautiful birds. Somehow I recommend you that book. I hope I can write it. And I will tell that to Jhon. Jhon, le recomendé el libro de Juan Carvajal de Toches y Q. Es un libro sobre pájaros porque él dijo que en Colombia tenemos pues la mayor cantidad de especies. Thank you
Claro.
for letting me show you that, man. Thank you.
Claro, y también es importante saber el libro de nuestro difunto querido amigo Orlando, Aves que visitaron la dacha. Eso es algo increíble.
Yes, and let this interview become like a requiem, a memoir for a big friend of the channel called Orlando Cuellar. He wrote another book about, birds. The translation will be birds that visited La Dacha. La Dacha is another place in our city. Oh man. It's great to showcase that. I'm so happy. I'm so happy that somehow this boot got in the conversation. And I don't know. You have visited Colombia. We need you here writing
Yes.
about the beautiful species that we got.
I was supposed to come 2 or 3 different times during COVID, and it kept getting canceled. So I have not been to Colombia.
Oh man.
There is an area in particular. It's crazy. Later we will going to interview some journalists that talk about movies in Colombia, and I put a cheer from my country. There is like a place that, in particular, I recommend you that place, San Gil, at Parque El Gallineral is really beautiful, man. There is a place in Colombia that you wanna visit. I don't know, the Amazonas, the Orinoquia. We got all the landscapes, by the way. No, we
I
got the
know.
Andean.
Yes.
What place do you wanna visit? Hopefully, Cucuta. We can somehow met with Juan, and he will show you all the birds. I don't know. There is a place in particular or other.
All of the different habitats and everything that lives there. One kind of bird in particular I would love to see. They're called racket-tailed hummingbirds.
Yes. Yes, the racket-tailed hummingbird. And Mike, I don't know if we can show you my place. I live in a normal. It will be like a suburbs, but we call it solares. Solares is there is like old houses that got a lot of plantations. So it's a practice that we are getting lost for the gentrification, but there are old houses that still
Uh-huh.
got those yards, and I'm
That's
happy to live in one of the old houses.
that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Yeah, it looks like you have a lot of flowers in the yard there.
Yes, and it's crazy because the neighborhood I live in is not one of high class. It's crazy. The people who got more money here, they don't got a lot of trees, of plantations. It's crazy. It's crazy. But somehow need to change.
Yeah.
No, John, gracias. Carlos,
No,
increíble.
con gusto. De hecho, por último, ¿cómo él define todo su trabajo en una palabra y un mensaje?
Okay, I know we are so excited, but this question, don't always do this question. How do you define your word in one word? And if you got a message for the people from that visit this channel from Colombia, from all over the world, go ahead. The camera is yours.
And my message is pay attention. Pay attention to the connections. Try to understand that life and existence is really a network of connections. And it's not transactions, it's connections.
Bellísimo. ¿Tú qué
Vamos a
tienes que agregar?
brindarle un fuerte aplauso.
No,
Bravo,
increíble.
bravo. Car, aparte de decir tus redes sociales y todo, hay muchas personas que te preguntan así rápido, ¿qué es lo que más destaca de los búhos? ¿Qué es lo que más te gusta de ellos? Porque hiciste un libro de ellos.
Okay, the camera is yours for you to showcase your social media so people can follow you. But people in the forums are asking, why do you lie about the owls? We know that you got a book about them, but what do you lie about these beautiful animals?
Oh, she's magical. She's so beautiful. And, we have a little thing that we say about her that because she was an orphan and almost dead, very, very small, little baby when we got her. And we raised her, and she has a free living life now, but she lives right around our house. She stayed around our backyard in our local area. And we see her every day, in the evening, at night, usually. So we say she has a wing in our world and we have a foot in her world, because we see so much of her world through her, things that people would not normally be able to observe, because she stays close by. She's not afraid of us. In fact, my computer right now is sitting on top of a table. The table is against a wall. Right on the other outside of the wall, right on the outside of the wall, is her nest box. It's an artificial box that she nests in, and she's in it right now, and she has 5 eggs that she is incubating. So she's only about 2 meters away from me right now, right on the other side of the wall. And when I come and go from my studio, she hears my footsteps and she calls to me from inside the box. So really, we're like friends. It's just magical. It's fantastic.
I will translate that part. John, ella vive a 2 metros de donde él está. Solo diré eso.
Wow.
I will tell you another place. If you came here to Cúcuta, come to Cerro Tasajero. But,
Ah,
okay, we're going to, yes.
Okay.
You can see, I will tell you a little insight. You can see that phenomenon of the Faro del Catatumbo, you know, the place where all those constant storm in Venezuela, you can see it here in the
oh, wow.
top. Yes. But
Wow.
we will,
Wow.
that's a beautiful homage, and thank you for our friend
Perfect.
Orlando. He's a friend he's still a friend of the channel. He's now and I don't know if in the cosmos or heaven. So thank you, Car, and thank you, Car.
Sí,
What a
thank you,
beautiful
Car.
interview.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah.
Gracias a Mariam por la oportunidad, por el enlace.
And yes, thanks to Marian for that opportunity.
Yes, yes.
Thank you so
Great.
much. Blessings.
Okay.
Go
Looking
quick.
forward to seeing the link, and we will share very widely. And my wife was born in Ecuador, and she is coming to
Oh.
Colombia in June. So she will be extremely interested in seeing the podcast and knowing about you. So it's great.
I will translate that. John, que le compartamos que él lo va a compartir en todos lados y que las esposas de Ecuador iban a ir acá. I need to
Bravo.
visit Ecuador. No, but bravo.
Bravo. Thank you, Car.
Okay.
Go with.
Gracias.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Great. Bye-bye.